Um, well, I'm Hasina checking in from Newcastle, South Africa, and just feeling a sense of community, togetherness, um, being in a space of creating.
I'm Cami Komala checking in from Kefalonia, Greece, but feeling very much a global citizen at the moment, with reconnecting with people that I was in high school with who are now just all over the place, Germany, London, some of them in the States, but all of us coming from the same roots, if you will. And also that sense of identity between Kamala and Cami just merging, and the concept of divine timing and all of it's just falling into place beautifully.
I'm sorry I had to take a phone call. I'm back now.
Do you want to check in?
Oh, thank you. You know, every day I think, so when am I going to write my mission statement?
Yes.
And every day I am like so incredibly busy. Oh, it's I am what can I say? Tuesday, I am a former liaison for the city we lived in as an international city of peace. And so I was on a global call with City of Peace leaders all over the world, which was so inspiring. And I was hearing about peace museums that are starting to emerge all over the world, which really, you know, as an artist for peace, I think, oh, I should have my artwork in all of those museums. But then after that, I also I'm a Rotarian, and my Rotary Club is an e-club of world peace, and also has membership all over. And it normally meets at 3:30 a.m. Polish time. It meets at 6:30 Pacific time. And so, with some complaining, once a month, they have a meeting with Serbia, which is at 6 p.m. And so Tuesday at 6 p.m., I was with Serbian Rotarians, Israeli Rotarians, and a few other countries. And there is a plan by this one Serbian and his team to create cities of peace all up and down the Danube River, and then move that into more of Eastern Europe and Western Europe. And this one man, he has just this convincing way that who would say no to him? Because, I mean, the basic is peace is everyone's human right. And they have a way of also creating cities of peace as a form of promoting tourism to these cities. Come to this city and learn ways to live in peace, learn ways to teach peace, learn ways to resolve conflict within yourself and your community. I mean, so it was just like those two meetings back to back, I was just so inspired. And of course, last night, it's just too late. I mean, midnight for Unity Earth. And so I'm happy to be with the three of you. And that's my check-in for now. Thank you for listening.
Juliet from County Cork in Ireland, and yeah, feeling so happy, and to see all of you and to feel part of this community, and coming together like this. And yeah, really interesting to hear your experiences, Brian, because I was at the full moon ceremony with Cara and Suzanne and another woman, Laura George, who is doing the Peace Pentagon in the States. She's living in, I think it's Virginia. And our theme was peace in the United States, and how the United States right now, to see it as an entity, to pray for and engage with. So the theme was engaging with this entity that is the United States of America, that is absolutely tormented with peacelessness, division, and just completely bound up with all this past karma, I suppose. I mean, just this withering, this hurting, suffering being that is trying to get free of all this divisiveness, of all this. I really saw it as actually very much like, this sludge of chains around it that humanity has put there from its thoughts, its feelings, just like the Rock and Stone elders had been talking about, and then loving that free, to love this entity, this beautiful child, to be free of all this stuff that was just contorting it, so that it could come into its peacefulness. And just after that, actually, I've been going slowly through some of because I didn't listen to much during that week because I was so involved with stewarding and presenting. And I listened to the session on happy cities. And it was almost as if it was tailor-made for our session the night before, because they were just talking about how to bring peace and happiness, or how to transform peaceless, divided, anguished communities into ones of peace and happiness and joy. And the guy, I don't know if you know, Lev, I'm not sure what his surname was. I think he might be based in Switzerland, I'm not sure. Anyways, he was saying that they were working on their own town and realizing that, of course, the only way this can start is by becoming peace oneself, becoming happiness and joy oneself, because only once you've resolved that inside you, the rest is a reflection really of what you're putting out. And so going around the town, and it was very divided because some of the authorities in the town were no longer liked or respected by the citizens. They felt they were corrupt or taking advantage or whatever. So just going in with an open mind of lovingness and wanting to listen, and then letting people really tell their stories, because of course every human being really wants peace and happiness. And they go into certain jobs, and those jobs are very demanding, etc. If you're the mayor or you're in the council, whatever. And ultimately you go in to serve, and you may get caught up in all kinds of patterns and stuff, sludge that's already there, but working on the goodwill and seeing and focusing on the goodwill and the beauty and the divine in everyone, to help to bring it out, as opposed to focusing on what you don't like or what you don't agree with, or people getting very protective and defensive right away as soon as the conversation between two sides come together. And it was just so beautiful, because Laura was actually quite upset. She was really at it, you know how we go up and down, but she was really in a place where she was very much feeling this sucking in of divisiveness, anger, bigotry, you know, this intolerance and stuff. She felt surrounded by people who were it's kind of this red and blue divide, and she was in a blue place, kind of feeling surrounded by red. I think those are the colors. I can't remember. Republican is red, isn't it?
Yes.
Blue is Democrat.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she was kind of very much feeling this, and that creates fear, but fear is the antithesis of love. So we have to get past our fear in order to come into that state that you can start to create. Anyway, long story, but it really related to me, Brian. It's so amazing how these meetings, often the same things come up. We're going through the same type of things, and of course it's human. It's all human stuff, right? And earth stuff. But thank you.
Thank you, Juliet. The guy's name is Liv Gordon. He was one of the speakers. Yeah, I remember putting it down when Anna Marie and I were discussing it, so it came, and I just looked it up on the session. But yeah, that one was the Thursday, very late at night for us. So the recording would be available on the
World Unity Week.
Yeah,
World
I
Unity.
think it's videos on
And
demand.
both on the Mighty Network and World Unity Week. They have the Room 1. All those are still, so I've been going through them slowly to listen to some of those that I missed. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. And yes, it is the same themes, you know, this whole theme of peace and so on. And Juliet, you were talking about the ceremony with Kara. I always call her Kara. Anyway, I was thinking about it. That I wonder if there's a recording of that. I'm sure that Tom would like to watch that, and probably no recording. Oh, okay.
There wasn't a recording because it can get you know, her process can bring out a lot of emotion and deep-seated stuff. I think she intentionally doesn't record it in case, so that people don't feel that I can't say that, I don't want to be, you know, recorded with this. So that people can really feel free to, through that process, to purge or whatever it is, let it flow and not have any kind of impediment. So, but at the end it was interesting because a couple of people said, oh, too bad we didn't record this, because it was so incredibly rich and very cathartic, I suppose. And really trying to unravel the fear. It's this fear that keeps that divisiveness going, because it's protectionism and defense and this feeling of being under siege. And as soon as you dissolve that through love, that love is the only healer, and you know, all the other stuff just adds to the gunge.
Yes. That's true. No, I think a lot of people in the United States, especially because everything is so much more intense, it's bigger. Everyone knows about it, that, it's the world leader in terms of a lot of things. So um, I think that when there's a divide, it feels so much deeper for people, um, in that sense. Even around the world, you can kind of tell. But um, I feel like it's just before we're getting into the new age, we it's upon us, really. The peace and the unity. It's all going to align.
It does feel like
Oh,
twin pains, you know, before every growth spurt, there's always that moment of resistance before you just push through and then grow exponentially. And I think that's the point we're at right now, is just breaking through that final barrier of resistance, and then it's going to be everything we've dreamed of. And I like what you posted on Facebook the other day, Hasina, of finding that within yourself, because that is ultimately where it starts from, is what each of us puts out into the world as individuals. And that resonated very strongly with me, that sense of finding our inner peace and then bringing that together as a community of individuals who are striving towards the same goal. And I think that's what stood out for me the most with World Unity Week, was that a feeling of each of us in every moment being consciously aware of that. And I love your vocab, Juliet. You know, the peaceless versus peaceful, instead of all of that destructive language around it. Even when you're saying peaceless, the word peace is still in it. It still has that resonance of seeking peace, of the potential for peace. I absolutely love that. And Brian, I'm sorry I laughed. It was because I just connected so deeply with that idea of, when am I going to write this damn mission statement?
yeah.
I also, like, I've got this whole plan for playing for peace, and it keeps evolving in my mind of how we can heal our inner children through play and through finding that joy again. And I have all of these wonderful ideas, but to actually find the time in the day to put it all together is just like, yeah. And as you were saying it, I thought divine timing, like Hasina said earlier. And it was a reminder for me as well that it will happen when the time is right. So I give that to you, Brian. Divine timing.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, and and Hasina knows firsthand that I was feeling late, not just around this mission, but to even get my presentations forwarded. And, the session that I had with my beloved Lisa, the universe is shaking you to awaken you. And that resonates with so many people that we said, oh, we have to make that part of the 99 days. And so then we're looking at the calendar. Okay, so what day of the week would work for us? what time of the day would work so that we could also have West Coast United States, East Coast United States, Central Europe, blah, blah, blah. And so we're starting to find the logistics, but then, oh, but next month we have these, we have a youth gathering in the House of Hope that's for a number of days. We have our 20th wedding anniversary to go and do something. And then all of a sudden it's like, do we have time to say, you know, we are going to offer this on such and such a day? So we're not there yet. And I also have my holos as a promoting the holo movement, and so here I tie into what you were just many of you were speaking, is that to come to a place where I'm whole and complete. I really feel that when I affirm that that's the truth of my essence, then I'm a portal. My energetic field attracts the right people. And being that we're in this foreign land for 7 months now, we have attracted certain people that resonate with us. At this point, it's still in it's just beginning, because I love creating community projects. I love doing things to bring people together. And we're finding our footing here. But when, you know, what Hasina said and what you were affirming, Kamala, that when we're connected with peace within ourselves, people feel that. And they're attracted to be around that. And I'll give you an analogy. Back in the early 70s, I had an Indian teacher, and we would like to go into this one park and walk together. And there was a stream along the pathway. And at one point I said to him, why is it that when I'm by a body of water, I feel very peaceful? And he said the most simple thing. He said, our physical makeup is mostly water. And so we're just in resonance with the body of water. So taking that simplicity and then turning it to feeling at peace inside, that those who come into that field feel it, and it resonates with that part of themselves. So enough to say about that. Let's just be peaceful and change the world that way.
I had an interesting experience with that this last week when my friend from high school stayed with us for a week. And then we had a Zoom call with the rest of our classmates, some of whom we haven't seen in
Wow.
30 odd years. And
Wow.
it was such an interesting experience to look at how they perceived me from their memories from 30 years ago compared to who I am now. But having Diane stay in our home for a week, was challenging in its own ways, but the most interesting thing that came out of it for me was that at some point my husband said to me, but how do you tolerate that condescension and arrogance? And I was just like, well, because that's who she's being. I'm choosing to focus on my inner peace, and coming into conflict with her about who she is not worth sacrificing my inner peace. And, it was such an amazing moment of realization for me that I had barely even noticed that she was being condescending or arrogant or even confrontational in some instances, because I was just so focused on what was going on inside of me that all of that my husband perceived as whatever was just not even a reality for me. I had to stop and think about why this wasn't pushing my buttons anymore. So, even when people enter our spaces that we've created for peace, and they come in with, I love that word, peaceless energy, we can still diffuse it rather than engaging with it or accelerating it, expanding it, or anything like that, because we can bring our energy into the situation and diffuse it. We can maintain that energy that we want to put out there, regardless of what is happening around us. So, as much as we, like Brian said, with like being attracted to us, the opposites are also going to be attracted to us. And the way we interact with those also determines the level of peace that we put out into the world.
Ah, I
Yes, and if we're listening well, when we respond with curiosity, when we respond in a way that inquires around somebody's opinion or their story that is somewhat confrontational or finger pointing, blaming, it becomes very revealing when they don't feel threatened with those questions, or they feel like, oh, this person's curious as to why I feel this way.
Mm.
And then very soon you hear that there are certain values that they have which can be affirmed, and likely we have similar values, we just have different strategy. And then they feel like they don't have to defend themselves for this. And then we make a connection, which my wife and I call compassionate listening and bridging heart to heart. And that really is a process of taking the peaceless to more possibility of being peaceful together. So
I love
it's great
that.
when somebody goes through that process and has a shift. And yeah, it's like, okay, so maybe I only in this lifetime can affect one person. I start with me, and then maybe one other person is. Then, as my sister said, "Oh, you did that? Now you can die." she's always like, she's my older sister. I only have an older sister, but if I shared something that was really like an epiphany or some great experience I had with somebody, she'd say, "Oh, that's great, Brian. Now you can die." And I tell her, yes, one day that'll be true. The inescapable. Oh, I love being with you. Thank
Yes.
you.
The feeling's definitely mutual.
Yeah.
Hasina, you've been wanting to talk.
No, no,
Oh, I'm sorry.
it's not that it's I keep on wanting to say something for Carmilla and Brian, and yet I want to hear both of you talk. That that um that mission statement. So come on Sunday at 5 p.m. You can write it there. We have a weekly mission check-in, and you're welcome to
5.
join in. A 5-hour time, CET. Yeah. If you,
And this Zoom link, your Zoom link, or is it a different one?
I have created a different one just for that. Yeah, yeah. But I'll
Could you?
put it in the
Yeah.
Yeah,
Bridging
move it around, that'd
Continents.
be great.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
We had a lovely call last Sunday. It was the first one. And I put it on Bridging Continents and World Unity Week. And a few of us came together, and it wasn't too structured. It was more like just coming together and feeling the space out and creating the space. And we talked about our missions. Like Shamima doesn't have a mission as such yet, and she said, I just want to be in the space, I just want to listen, and she enjoyed it. And then some of us do have missions, so whether you have one or not, I'm thinking we probably will create just 5 minutes of silence and say, okay, because we don't get that. There's so much, and we want to watch all the recordings of World Unity Week, and, we're just wanting to participate and in that state. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. And the second thing I wanted to say is that Anna Marie sends her love.
Thank you.
She's walking with Sophia, no doubt.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Actually, one thing I
Hand in
wanted
hand.
to share too was just I've chosen this backdrop that looks to me, signifies to me fire. And I took this on May 17th as I looked out the window at 9:30 at night and saw this extraordinary sight. But since then, and through the listening field with Daniela Castillo, we're really looking into fire, and I really feel fire. I'm attracted now. I'm wearing fire colors. Everything is fire. And I feel in many ways, as we were talking earlier, that the fire is the final cleansing purifier, that going through the fire to start the whole thing anew, because that's what fire does. It can be scary, you resist, you go, but they're looking into inquiring what is fire? What's her message? Why is she here? Is she, instead of just saying, oh, fire's bad, fire, you can't have fire, this is terrible, because there's a lot of fires going on all around the earth. And so asking the star nations, asking fire herself, asking the animals and the plants, and getting a very different perspective that fire is seen as absolutely necessary part of the cycle that brings rebirth, that brings it's like you have what is it, and you have Shiva, the creator, the sustainer, and the destroyer. But it's what death is, what all these things, and it's part of this important, it's a very important, beautiful part of the life cycle, because without it you can't have the new, you can't have spring without winter, and so in many ways fire not to be seen as something, and it could be taken to global warming, whatever, the climate chaos. This is a time that we're being put into the fire so that we can become the new possibilities, who are Yeah, new possibilities.
Yeah, I agree, Juliet. And with what Carmela said, you know, what you said about your friend, Carmela, and how you didn't, the fire will have its way. John.
Oh boy.
Yeah, what you were saying, Carmela, is that how you didn't notice about, you know, your friend's state because you were in your own inner peace. The messages that I'm getting, and it's the first time I'm verbalizing as the messages that I'm getting, is that a lot of people think, how will we have world peace? How will this come into being? It's not going to be one day everything turns around, trumpets blow, and we have world peace. What I'm getting is that um, there are so many of us who are going to be focused on that inner peace. We won't see anything other than world peace. And it brings me to, I follow Abraham Hicks, what Abraham Hicks usually says about that, you know, you feeling sorry for someone or feeling bad for them, like you can't feel bad enough to make anyone feel better. You can't be sick enough to make anyone else well. So when we shift our perception and we're concerned with that inner state of peace, we will only see that. And when enough of us do, the message is that it will be like a tipping point and it will just shift into it.
Critical mass.
Yeah.
I just want to go back to what you were saying earlier, Brian, about reaching one person. That was actually where all of this started off for me in 2011 when I went to the first Slut Walk, and then in 2013 when I took over organizing the Slut Walks, my husband said to me, you know, that no matter how many slut walks there are, you're never going to end rape. And I said to him, but that's not my goal. I know what my experience was of that first slut walk when one of the speakers stood up and just opened up so much healing for me. And if I can do that for one other person, all of this work would be worthwhile. And now, and the, you know, years went by and we started a survivor support group that's got more than 20 members, and each of those people goes out and, you know, talks to other people and spreads the healing. But the biggest thing of it was we also did Care Kids collections where we collected toiletries and put them together in handbags to hand out to survivors at crisis centers and stuff. And the one day I went to collect some donations from a woman, and she had a guest at her home who looked at me and went, "Oh my gosh, you Camilla from Slut Walk." And I was like, "Yes." And she says, you said something to at one of the meetings, at one of the marches, you said something about challenging the way we view women in clubs. And now every time I go to a club with friends, if somebody says something stupid, I set them straight. And it was just this moment of, you never know what one thing you're going to say in what space can have such huge ripple effects. So, Brian, that one person you touched has gone out, trust me. I mean, like, I would never have known that this woman was doing that if I hadn't been in the space to meet with her and hear that. I don't know how many others there were that were doing similar things, or how much effect each of those, You know, each march had about 100 people. The biggest one had, I think, about 450 people. But I don't know how much further that effect went. And the same is true of you with your presentations, your exhibitions, all of the things that you're doing. There's no way to measure how many lives you've touched. There's no way to quantify the effect of the work that you're doing. So just keep doing what you're doing, knowing that, you know, it is reaching people, and you will, you know, even if you don't know it, it is having an effect.
Yes, when I first heard Emanuel Kunzelman talking about the Holo movement, setting the stage of it was that here we were on a Unity Earth meeting where everybody was in their little boxes, and he talked about us sitting around the campfire together. And when we're together like that, we feel the connection of spirit that really is the source of our lives. And then we leave that campfire and we bring our gifts out into the world. And then we come back together as one. And so, you know, I see it as one human family, that if there wasn't another teaching, another modality, if it was only that's the message. We're one humanity. I just feel like, isn't that enough? Isn't it enough that we recognize that we're of one human family? Ooh, who's coming in here?
Suzanne.
Oh, Susanna.
Hi, Suzanne.
Hi,
Hello.
Oh,
nice to
hey.
see you.
That's
Hi,
so
Adelaide.
good to see you.
Wow, just a few years. Huh?
I said, it's so good to see you. It feels like it's been too long.
Yeah, really?
I
Okay.
got to see her on Sunday.
Oh, great.
Yeah, but just shortly. Yeah, I'm busy too. I mean, we just met a few weeks ago. I was just checking how you're doing, what's up next, what the possibilities are for co-work, collaboration, co-partnering. So I'm on my way for fundraising, the Israel Travel Peace Summit.
Wow.
I go with few elders, looking which elder will come. I got. Oh, this is recorded. Okay, I'm shut up now. It's very private. So yeah, sometimes it's the recording. This recording is okay, and some things are. I just forgot. Sometimes I'm very private, very private. So I'm getting used. I need to find a way to get used to these recordings. It's good for the others, but sometimes I need to find a way. I need to find my way with these recordings. I gotta tell you.
You know,
Normally in meetings, it's not so intimate when you record. I have to tell you, to be honest, but it's fine. It's okay. It's for the others also to listen to. So. How are you?
Good. I hear what you're saying about the recording, so I just quickly have to say that I used to be very aware of it, and because I believe, you know, we attract who we are, I find that whoever comes into the space or even watches the recordings, they've really needed to hear whatever, and it doesn't take on that that feel of it goes everywhere, and it's not like that. Like sometimes you have on other social media platforms, like with our spaces, I've just witnessed how it goes where it's needed. So I don't know if that's any comfort, but
I take it. Thanks. Everybody has his own or her own story about recordings.
Mhm.
I'm coming from that place where there's no recording. I'm going to indigenous circles where they strictly no records, and really I'm coming from a totally other angle, because when we record, the intimacy is gone. But that's what I experienced in my life in ceremonies. But we are not in a ceremony. But I'm not used to conferences like that. Firstly, and I know it's for the purpose to collaborate in peace. So I understand, but please bear with me. I'm really coming from a place where strictly no things. So that's why I need to relearn, rewire something here. So it's okay. So
We're on individual journeys, and everything is exactly as it should be.
yes.
that's a good phrase, for sure. You can do it at in any moment.
I think that whatever you feel comfortable sharing in a recording is exactly what other people would need to hear
Yeah.
in that moment. And if there's things that you feel uncomfortable with sharing, then it's stuff that the world's not ready for yet, maybe.
Me not. I'm not there. I'm not
Yeah.
there.
And maybe the rest of the world's not ready to hear it yet either.
But some things are intimate.
Absolutely. I come from the opposite end of the spectrum because I've always been a loudmouth and just spoken my mind quite openly without any hesitation. So I'm barely even aware of things being recorded. I've done so much public speaking on such deep, intimate issues that I'm just like, whatever at this point.
Yes. That's great. Yeah.
But
Yeah,
like I
and
say,
this isn't a ritual space.
mm,
This
It
is
is
like
ritual
community.
space. Yes.
I'm sorry?
Yes.
Yeah, so we're coming together as community and sharing, and the recording of this are for those community members who missed today, if they
Yes.
want to listen to what we covered. And it's not a right or wrong, it's just what is the setting that we're in. And certainly, I totally honor um, being with a sacred space like a sweat lodge or a ritual where people are really going deep and sharing the deep healing and making that a possibility for a level of intimacy that isn't like, oh, the cameras are on us. Yeah. So we had this experience with the delegation in Auschwitz, and we were with two filmmakers. And so what was really interesting was that the filmmakers were also deeply in the same process as all of us were, doing the inner healing of how to turn such a horror behavior towards humanity and how to release it internally to the point where it's actually bringing about a state of peace, both within, and that this is the message of that human horror, as two of them were from Japan and they were representing Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So how to take, these worst human behaviors, which are still ongoing, still a threat, but how can we walk forward together? So I don't know when the filmmakers will present anything that they recorded, but I'm sure at some point it will be meaningful to those who need to hear and experience what we went through. So we had all agreed to that. And one of the filmmakers was from Kosovo, and as a young Muslim boy living in Yugoslavia and growing up in that horrific, to go through that experience of, well, I don't know if any of you have gone through such horror of neighbors killing neighbors and how to escape that. But yeah, I mean, obviously our intent is that we want a world where we can live in peace together and help heal these traumas. That's our work, or our joy, our passion.
Oh, this is
Just to answer the question about personal experiences of violence, we lived in Johannesburg for 20 years, and in that time we were held up at gunpoint twice. So yes, not quite the level of a Kosovo or, a war zone, but it does build a mindset of fearfulness, peacelessness, as Juliet said, that constantly being vigilant after an experience like that, the post-traumatic stress is quite significant, and it completely shifts the way you live your day-to-day life. And having come to Greece now and experienced the complete opposite of that, to the point where we can leave the car keys in the ignition with the door open and the front gate unlocked, has been quite an eye-opener for me, and I think played a large part in the direction I've grown in. So, it's what we were saying earlier about finding what it is within you and expanding that outwards and healing, that healing journey that just shifts so much.
That's such a also being South African, and I haven't had the experience, thankfully, of violence, but I've come from a place where the fear is what you're sort of almost collectively raised in. And I remember going to America, and it was just such a different experience, compared to what you're raised in. But I also, my dad had his practice in an area which was supposed to not be safe in our town, and I still feel like it's home. There are people who won't feel safe, and it, like, I look people in the eye and I have my bag in my hand, and I feel like it totally like shifts the experience. I'm not expecting anything different because it feels like home. Okay, shall we
You
just
have to
check
go.
out one word, Kamala?
Hmm?
You want to check out?
Oh, okay. But you in the
Oh,
middle of
oh
speaking.
no, I thought you were going and I wanted to give you the.
No, it was me.
Oh,
I
I'm
have to
saying
go.
goodbye to
Oh, do
Brian.
you want to check out Brian?
Well, I said thank you all, love and blessings. So till next week, or maybe Sunday. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
See you again.
Mm,
Regards to Lisa.
Yes.
Yes.
And my
Thank
love
you.
to you.
Bye-bye.
Keep up the good work. Oops.
One word, Suzanne, to check out.
um, Innovation.
I love it. Yes. One word, Kamala.
Growth.
Growth. Evolution. I'll
Growth.
hold it.
And what?
Growth.
Growth.
Growing.
Sorry. Okay.
Mine is evolution. And let's just send collective peace. And thank you for being here. It's wonderful.
Thank you for hosting.
Thank you for having me. Bye.
Always.
Bye.
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 Bye.